Yes, Commissioner Bagley,
Here.
Herzog,
Here.
Damian, Costin,
Here.
LaFontaine, Long,
Here.
McGilvery,
Here.
Nash,
Here.
Quarles,
Here.
Vanderveen.
Here. Hi,
We have
boys
eight
and
members
girls.
present. We have 8 members present.
Okay, if we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next we need to, a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move it. I move.
Moved by Coral, supported by Vanderveen. Any corrections? Vicky has got a couple things that she emailed out yesterday afternoon. Just updates for items number 7 and 10B. So just so you're aware. All in favor of approving the agenda, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Like sign for those opposed. Motion carries. Next item is approval of the minutes from the meeting on June 3rd. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Quarles, supported by Costin. Any discussion on the minutes, corrections, or hearing none? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like sign for those opposed. Minutes have been approved. Next, we have public comment. Do we have any public comment?
At this time, there is no one on the public comment line.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go to communications. We have the capital improvement expense summary. And Jeff or Dan, do you have anything on that?
Just that Jeff updated it. Jeff, anything you want to point out? We can't hear you, Jeff.
Okay. Jeff, you don't have anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Next is consent agenda. We have items A through, hang on,
L.
A through L. Do we have a motion? Moved by Vanderveen, supported by Costin. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Any questions? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Herzog,
Yes.
Damian, Costin,
Yes.
LaFontaine,
Hello.
Long,
Yes.
McGilvery,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Vanderveen,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
and I'm gonna go back, Damian,
Is this roll call or?
consent.
This motion to adjourn, Greg.
I like to be quick, but not that quick, Greg.
Mr. Jamian, your vote for consent?
Yes.
That's 9-0.
Okay,
Or 9-0.
next we move to, regular agenda, 9A, which is the approval of the Oakland County Parks and Rec proposed 2020 millage renewal ballot language. Did everyone receive a copy of that?
Yes, I did.
We've been meeting, a few of us as a group, trying to get this ironed out, the language, and we finally got there, we think. But what we're gonna try to do is postpone this until the August meeting. The reason being is, we wanna try to get as much in the way of bipartisan support as we can. And there were a couple, 2 or 3 Republican, folks that said that they wanted to get through their primary first. So if we wait until the meeting in August, then that'll get them through the primary and they might be supportive. So that was our main reason for postponing it until August.
And you'll be able to get it to the clerk's office on the 11th of August at 4 o'clock with a board meeting to be scheduled, right, Gary?
That's correct. Any questions?
Yeah, Gary, I've got one.
Go ahead, Dave.
On page 58, there's the language with a bunch of deletes and arrows and underlines. Is that the final language, or is it the language on 57 that?
The one that was sent out, said June 26, 2020, is that correct, Vicky?
Yeah, it's the email that was sent last night, had the most up-to-date language.
I guess I
It
don't
was
have it.
from- It was dated the 26th, but it was sent out last night.
It's a page by itself, Dave, so you probably don't have it.
Okay, I'll get it my other computer. Is that, I assume that's what's been approved by Corporation Council as well?
Correct.
Correct. Jody Hall was in on that, yes. There it
Okay,
is.
thank you.
Boy, that staff we have is sharp, I'll tell you.
Well, and we got, just on the one that was sent out, in the second sentence where it says there are, it's 13 county parks. At one time it said 14. And because we have a management agreement or an operating agreement for the ORV and the state owns the land, we're not counting that as a separate park.
Yeah, I read that.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions regarding the bond renewal? Or the ballot renewal, sorry. Okay. That's for information only. The next item is CIP maintenance projects approval. First, we have Red Oaks Water Park Children's Play Structure replacement.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? This is Mike Donnellan.
Afternoon,
Go ahead,
Mike.
Mike?
Afternoon. It is afternoon, isn't it? Just real brief, Chairman McGilvery. This is a project we've been working on for the past year and a half for the replacement of the children's water playground structure down at Red Oaks. In December, we brought to the commission a conceptual approved project amount of about $1.4 million. At that same time, we requested that the commission approve the purchase and acquisition of water play features, recirculation equipment, and shipping to a tune of about $642,723. And they are currently being manufactured, those pieces of equipment. In the meantime, we finalized our construction documents, went out to bid, and received bids back, which are in your commission packet. Today, what we're looking for is an approval for staff recommendation to award the submitting vendor CE Gleason Contractors of Troy, Michigan, $897,000 $58 for the replacement of the children's water playground feature, including all the installation of the equipment that we purchased in December. This total project coming before you today is, this request is $1,627,000. I'm sorry, $1,628,000 and $28,391. I can't even say the numbers too big. So the budget, as you said, we said we're conceptually approved at 1.4. We are postponing our Addison Oaks electrical improvements, which we were got approved in April till FY 2021, so that this winter we can do that in order to fund this project. Staff are additionally requesting commission consideration to include the alternate for the shade structure for all being inclusive and accessibility, and for those people, there's a lot of sun exposure out there at the splash pad. And staff is asking to include an additional $37,138 for this shade structure. It did come in under our estimated engineering budget, and there is funds available to do so. So the total project as it stands today, with today's approval, will be $1,665,529 if you were to consider the concession, the shade structure. Now, just an important note, this recommendation does not include the sanitary pump station in which we bid out at the same time. And the reason why is those sanitary pump station came in, as you can see in the agenda, about the lowest qualified bid was $246,000. We are currently negotiating and coming up with an alternative way of doing our sanitary pump station. And we're expecting to receive post-bid quotes from our lowest qualified vendor through purchasing this week. So I'm hoping in August, we will have that approval before the commission. And I'm hoping, and I'm just going to say I'm hoping that's a substantially lower amount for that sanitary pump station. I can't say what it would be, but I'm hoping it'd be lower. So again, that's just a caveat for today's meeting, but we're requesting these amounts to move forward with the play feature replacement. Are there any questions?
Mike, I have one. In your project description, it says it's deteriorated after 17 seasons. And then it says it's not universally acceptable, and then does not align with current recreational trends. How does it not align with current recreational trends? I didn't understand what that meant.
I believe we're talking about accessibility. It's got steps. There's no ramps going up to the second areas. If you recall, there's probably multi-level platforms that are part of that existing play structure that you can't get a wheelchair up. It does have a transition point in one location, but it does not meet the accessibility trends, is basically what that's meant.
Okay, it says current recreational trends. That's described, unless that's what you meant by it.
It's meant more the universally accessible trends is what we're trying to say there.
Okay.
I have a.
When is the construction scheduled?
The construction scheduled for, well, as soon as the water park closed, but as we know, the water park is closed. If we get approval today, we may be able to get contracts in line and start as early as August, the beginning of August.
Greg, you had a question?
Yeah, what is the trend for this type of recreation going forward? And I mean, because we got 17 years out of the out of the former structure. I mean, is the trend up for this type of recreation?
If I could defer to my cohorts, Tom and Jim, they probably answer those trends a little bit more.
Oh yeah, the water park has been very highly used. And when the weather's been warm the last few years, we've had our record numbers for attendance. And this structure here is in addition to the water park, so it offers an additional feature. It allows the younger patrons to participate and have a place to recreate within the water park. You know, we need a smaller area, spray area for the younger kids, for them to have a place to enjoy the water park, and this is definitely a part of it and part of the trend.
And from a standpoint of parents and kids, at some point in time, we would like to propose to the commission to consider a restroom facility, a family 2-unit bathrooms at that site, so you don't literally have to walk probably 400 or 500 feet to get to a bathroom. You can imagine little kids sprinting to the bathroom.
Well, maybe they don't. Maybe they just go in place. I don't know. But
It's the old folks getting.
I would think that pardon me? I would think that would be part of any kind of expansion. I don't know if there's code regulations that require a number of bathrooms within so many, within a close proximity to an event or not.
The current park standards, this is a replacement of existing, so we meet all of the health code requirements for water closets, is what they would call it, or toilets and labs and showers. So we meet all of that right now.
Mike, is this a total replacement, or is this I'm sorry, Mr.
Go
Chairman,
ahead.
I just have one other question.
That's all right.
Is this a total replacement?
Yes, it is a total replacement of all the features within that area.
And we bought the equipment before the end of the year last year, and we saved what percent, Mike, as a result of that?
Well, it's about $16,000 to $20,000. Steel prices went up at the end of the year to that point, and that's why we took advantage of the purchase in December.
Okay. Thank you.
Dave, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We've got we're looking at $1,628,000. We've got our millage election coming up in November. I'm wondering what the ramifications are if we put that over till after the millage election.
We put this project off a few years because we've identified in 2016 that there's some deficiencies in the structure, and we wanted to get it in the budget and prepare for that. We knew we can get maybe 1 or 2 years out of it. We won't be able to go through another operating season next year with this structure as is. And so we would have to probably, if we postponed it, we probably would have to go without that area for next year.
How long does it
come in
How
August?
long does the construction take?
We're anticipating starting the construction in September and completing it by May 1st.
Oh, it can be that long.
Yes, they're anticipating getting all the earthwork and concrete work completed before the snow flies this year. And then next spring, they would be installing all of the equipment and getting everything operational.
Is there any other further questions? Mike, I have a question. This was budgeted? Correct?
Yes, yeah, it was budgeted at $1.38 million originally. Due to favorability in projects and postponement of projects, we are able to fund it. And that, like I said, we're postponing Addison Oaks Electrical that was approved in April to 2021. And that's the significant portion of the funding.
How much was that?
That was $367,000.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Temian,
Yes.
Costin,
Yes.
LaFontaine, Long,
Yes.
McGilvery,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Vanderveen.
I guess so. That's a yes.
Okay. Bagley,
Yes.
Herzog.
Yes.
It's a 9-0
Commissioner-
vote.
Commissioner McGilvery?
Yes.
May I ask clarification on the consideration for the shade structure, the additional $37,000? Is that part of the motion or is that a separate motion?
I believe it was part of the motion, but who was the maker of the motion, Vicky?
The original motion was without the shade structure, and then we asked consideration by the commission to include an additional $37,000 for the shade structure.
How about
Actually,
we do this? Can we just have someone make a motion for the shade structure at 37,138?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Costin, support?
I'll
Supported
support
by
it.
Quarles. Any discussion on the shade structure? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote on that?
Yes. Commissioner Costin,
Yes.
Fontaine, Long,
Yes.
McGilvray,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Vanderveen,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Herzog,
Yes.
and Jamian.
Yes.
And that was also 9-0 for the shade.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Springfield Oaks Mill Pond Dam boundary discussion. And Dan, are you leading that conversation?
No, that is Mike and Melissa and Zach Crane.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Phil, can you make me a presenter? Thank you. Okay, is that up? People can see it?
Yep.
Okay. So we're bringing this conversation to the commission today just as an information item to kind of let you know where our heads are at and what we're thinking about the aftermath essentially of the Mill Pond Dam removal in terms of potential new property boundaries. So just to kind of reorient everyone to the map that's on your screen, let's see. This is Davisburg Road that comes down across here. Where that red triangle is the Mill Pond Dam that we are going to be removing. All the property that's shaded in blue is Oakland County Parks property. This is the golf course down here south of the Mill Pond. And everything that's yellow is operated by Springfield Township as property. So this kind of came up the further we get along in this process of the design and engineering for removal of the dam and what that property is going to look like. When the dam is removed, the mill pond will not exist anymore. So that this body of water that we currently own will go away. So what we're with is that light blue proposed or kind of example stream channel. That is what will remain. So we'll, instead of having a mill pond, we'll have a stream channel surrounded by wetlands and uplands on either side. So this kind of brought up the question of where does it make sense then to have that property boundary if the mill pond goes away? And a big factor in that discussion is this is a draft concept of what Mill Pond Park might look like in the future after the dam is removed and they kind of repurpose some of that land for new recreation opportunities. So you can see here the current kind of Mill Pond Park footprint. And then the township is very interested in potentially putting some trails through here on the north side of the stream, maybe some overlooks as well. But at this point, we're not talking about doing any sort of boardwalks that would cross over the stream, mostly due to cost. So we're just looking at really utilizing Mill Pond Park to provide some additional recreational amenities by way of trails on the north side of the stream. So what we've been discussing is the properties here that are now shaded in red. we're looking at potentially giving that property to Springfield Township as part of this project and essentially using the new stream channel as the dividing line between Oakland County Parks property and Springfield Township property. As part of that conversation, we're also talking about giving them in some form or fashion Rotary Park, which we currently own and operate. That's on the other side of the Mill Pond Dam. It's where the dam, it's the outfall of the dam. We do currently own that property. If you haven't been out there to see it, it's just a small little park with a pavilion. It's kind of a typical Rotary Park environment out there. So we thought if we were gonna essentially give this property to Springfield Township, and we're looking at as part of the removal project of doing a culvert, open bottom culvert here that potentially could provide pedestrian traffic from the Mill Pond Park over into Rotary Park and then up into Davisburg. So providing that connectivity for pedestrians. As part of that conversation, you'll see this little triangle here in the upper right corner. That is currently our property as well, but you can see the river that comes through here cuts it off from the rest of that prairie front property that we manage. And Springfield Township actually currently manages it as part of their park here. So we thought this would be maybe a good time to clean up that boundary. And since they're managing it anyway, and it's on their side of the river, maybe we would just kind of deed that property over to them as well. So if we did all that, this is essentially what the new boundaries would look like. Again, it would be all Oakland County Parks property south of the stream. Rotary Park would go to Springfield Township, and then this little triangle of property up here would go to the township as well. All in all, we'd be looking at somewhere right around 10 acres that would be transferred to the township for their management as part of this overall process. So we're not really looking necessarily for approval of this concept today, but we really just wanted to check in with the commission and make sure, as we're going forward with this project, that is a direction that the commission is comfortable with. So if I can answer any questions about that.
Melissa?
Anything else you want to add? Yeah, Dan.
I think it would be important for the commissioners to give them a little bit of the history of the properties at that site, going all the way back, that was a road commission facility, the Mill Pond Park, and
yes. Yep.
And we actually owned all that park at one time.
We did. It was actually a conversion back in the day when we gave it to Springfield Township, but it is theirs now, and we jointly manage the Mill Pond together and have for a number of years. We have a great working relationship with them. This project overall has been really great, and they're discussing this essentially at the same time as we are.
Melissa, I have a question, Melissa, please?
Yep.
There was some pretty considerable litigation over whether or not that dam was going to be taken down or not. I got a lot of letters and calls and stuff. Is that litigation now closed or finished?
It is not. I talked to our attorney about it a few weeks ago, and then the date that we had to be in court was a few weeks ago, and it got pushed because of everything that's going on. As of this morning, I don't have an update on where that stands. I know our attorneys are, they're taking care of it. They're dealing with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. We've been told to continue to just move forward as we have been by our attorneys.
I have a question.
Melissa, I have a question. Will this continue to go on and to give that property to Springfield Oaks before the lawsuit is settled?
That's a good question. I don't know that we'd be able to do that before the lawsuit was settled. I think attorneys think that it's going to be settled in the near future. They're not expecting it to drag out for years and years, but at this point, I don't know.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Can you remind me who on this property lines, who is actually suing us?
Yeah, it's the homeowner that's right here. If you can see where I'm circling above where it says Mill Pond Dam.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured. Thanks.
Yep.
Gary, I have a question.
Go ahead, David.
Is there any consideration in the county's favor for granting them the 10 acres?
Sorry, what was the question?
Is there any consideration for the county in granting them the 10 acres? Are they gonna pay us anything or any,
Gotcha. Yeah, we were not proposing any sort of payment for that. There essentially would be, to be honest, kind of helping us out by taking over Rotary Park. And then we just thought from a management standpoint, it made more sense to divide the boundary line right at the waterway that's gonna run through there.
where I was going to that question was, maybe we could adjust that. We're in for 55% and the township's in for 45% of the cost. And maybe we could work with that a little bit as a consideration.
Mr. Vanderveen?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderveen, this is Mike Donnellan. One of the things that will end up having as a result of this project is that agreement that we currently have that lists out those percentages, that will basically go away. There won't be any maintenance costs shared between Oakland County and Springfield Township. So that's very important to note because those are monies that we always had to expend a year on that. And that's why one of the considerations what staff were recommending just doing it at the stream bank for, the transfer of $1 or $1 for the deed and stuff like that. So, and like Melissa said, Rotary Park is an operational challenge since we have to take mowers via trailer to get there to maintain that park. So,
Well, if that 55-45 goes away, then that does inure to the county's favor. I think that's a good deal.
Is there any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item we have on the agenda is 2020 Board of Commissioners Invasive Species Subcommittee Potential Funding Update. Dan?
I will start this out. We were part of a subcommittee that was created by the Board of Commissioners in early 2019 that had facilities maintenance, the Water Resource Commission, Clinton River Watershed, and the Oakland County SISMA, and a number of watersheds were involved. Councils were involved as well. And Sarah is going to lead you through the funding that potentially is available to the park system.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, great. So the Invasive Species Prevention Committee requested funding from the Board of Commissioners to fund 2 priority projects. So the projects that they are focused on is one in preventing aquatic invasive species through the purchase of boat wash stations, and then 2, promoting native plants through purchasing native plants and then distributing them throughout the county this fall. So the Invasive Species Prevention Committee requested these funds and was granted these funds at their meeting last week. I think you'll notice in the commission agenda items that we didn't know if they would be approved, but they were both approved. They're directly sending the aquatic invasive species money to the Parks Commission for purchase of the boat wash stations and the associated costs that come with operating those boat wash stations. And then we are submitting a proposal to them to get the money for the native plant distribution, which is $32,000. The boat wash stations are $118,000. So all told, we are potentially getting $150,000 from the committee to execute their priority projects.
Is there any questions? Hearing none. That was informational, so we don't need to make a motion. Next item is a report on meeting with Fuller Oak Management on the request of deferred waive rent and utilities for 2020.
Okay. Phil's got the start of this.
The information's in your packet. It was, we had an in-person meeting with them. Vicki was there and took great notes. In summary, we did not come up with a recommendation at this time because the day before we did meet with Oak Management, County Executive Coulter had announced a $32 million grant program that he was introducing to the board that was specifically for small businesses, restaurants, food service, that we all agreed this was their best opportunity to receive funding to help with their expenses in relation to our utilities and rent that we have been discussing with them. I have been since put them in touch with the Oakland County Economic Development Team and their small business counselors to assist them with this program and any other funding as well.
Dave, you had a question?
Yeah, I think the maximum grant under that program is $5,000 to $10,000. So I wonder how that would square with what the requests are. I don't know what their utility bills are that they're asking us to waive, or the rent.
And I think they also applied for some other money from the SBA that I think they have pending also, Commissioner.
Is that the PPP program, payroll protection plan?
I believe so, Dave.
Okay.
I have one comment, Mr. Chairman, and that is, I was at the meeting also, and it just seemed to make a lot of sense to everybody there that the day before we find out that there could be monies available to Oak Management and probably Catherine's and other restaurants, and with some other places available possibly for money for the same type of operations, it just made sense for us not to get into a position to have a vote on something without having all that information. And so it was, I think it was unanimous that the wise thing to do at that point was to not really have a recommendation from the county parks, and to see what they might be able to do on their own. And that was really the reason it was adjourned. And I think everybody liked it. I did.
What is the financial implication of what they've asked? The years, as I recall, was the years abeyance of utilities and rent.
In rent, yep.
Dave, I can't answer the question if I could, but I think it was kind of important to find out that I don't have the floor right now. I may have interrupted. So if I did, can I continue or shall I step back?
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Okay. Well, what was also important for especially new members of the commission is that since 1974, Oak Management has contracted with the county for these kinds of services, and at one time had all of the food services. And so one of the things that always concerned me was that if someone goes to, whether it's Catherine's or Oak Management, to a outing or a wedding or something, I think they often thought that they were with the parks as much as being with Oak Management. And so because these people went back so far way before I was on the commission, and also because they did something that I thought was outstanding, and that is they actually refunded all the deposits that they had for a couple of months, which left them with no business and no deposits. And I couldn't imagine them being a better partner, if you will, than to do what they did and to recognize their long commitment to the county, or commitment or long contractual arrangement with the county, all of it very successful. So that was part of the discussion, and I was pleased to find out that, wow, a lot of people don't just return deposits, they kind of try to delay it or defer it or work something else out. But so that was pretty amazing on their part, I felt, to return all the deposits, and they did. So they had no business at all in June and none in July, and so, or May. So anyway, I just want to let you know that was part of at least what piqued my interest in seeing, is there a way that we can help them? Is there a way that we should help them? And what other ways are there to get help without them having to ask for help from the county or from the parks? That's it.
Gary?
Yeah.
So there's a lease agreement. They owe us the money. I agree with Bob that we need to think this through and think of the value that they've brought to the table over the years. But I think it would also be responsible for them or for us to kind of mandate that they provide us with written correspondence of any kind of application process that they enter into to keep us apprised of, you know, their efforts in securing some of these available funds that may or may not be available to them. So is that possible to do?
We'll ask for that, yes.
I wouldn't think there'd be any objection to that, Greg.
Okay. I mean, because we want something in our file to protect us, right? To say that, well, we're considering this, but it's based on representations that, you know, they're going, you know, through the process of, you know, applying for, you know, the various types of grants or funding that could be available. So, you know, if it ever came back to us, we could say, well, you know, we relied on their representations that they were going through this. But I think it's easy for them to do. I don't think it's something very complicated, but just to provide us with kind of written correspondence on where they are at the process in 30 days, 60 days. If we could ask them to do that through written correspondence, that would from the parks to them, and then have them provide us with written correspondence back versus just a, you know, conversation. I think that would be prudent.
I think also, Greg, that we can have someone from the county executive's office who's in working on the grants. They can make us aware of what's happening too. So.
Yeah, I've already asked Dan Hunter that, Gary.
Okay.
One other comment, Bob Costin, and that is I saw the information in the Oakland Press on the day before our meeting and made a bunch of copies of it, but we couldn't tell from what the press was saying how much might be available. Mr. Vanderveen probably has more information on that. All we knew is that for the first time there was considerable amount of money, and they named restaurants and food services, which before were not sure if they were going to even be involved in it. But so we didn't have that information at all until the day before the meeting, and no one seemed to know. I think Jody Hall was there, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that she had any idea how much might be available to any particular applicant.
David?
Yeah, Bob, I mentioned, you probably picked up on it. It was $5,000 to $10,000 is going to be the size of the grants.
Right.
But I agree, they've been great partners over the years. But I still don't know or have a handle on what is the financial magnitude of their request.
I think maybe Phil could answer that question because they did it in writing. So I wouldn't want to say what I think. So I think maybe Phil could tell us.
Their request, and it's estimates based on previous years, but what their request was for all the rent, all the utilities for the entire fiscal year to be forgiven, not deferred. My estimates are just a hair over 220,000 is what their request was.
220,000?
Correct.
5,000's a drop in the bucket then. What of land? Out of curiosity, well, how much of that is utilities? Do you know, Phil?
Yeah, if I'm doing some quick math here, about 70 to 75,000.
Okay, thank you. That gives me a ballpark. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports. Next item we have is fiscal sustainability work group, and I'm assuming it's Melissa.
Well, I can lead it out, Gary. We regret that we were unable to have the meeting this morning at 11:30. Donna Folan and Sue Wells both have been off for a period of time. And we do plan for the August 5th meeting that we would have the fiscal sustainability work group convene at 11:30 prior to the meeting. And we will send out a teleconference for that. And your monthly reports that we provide are provided starting out on page 99. If anyone has any questions.
Does anyone have any questions or discussion? I don't see anyone, so I think that covers that.
Okay.
Next item is update on operational plan for the OCPR facilities.
And this,
Vicky emailed out a update yesterday, so everyone should have that.
yep, that is the most up-to-date information on our facilities. We did open the 2 campgrounds last Thursday, and we opened the beach at Groveland. I don't know if Jim, do you have any updates on so far so good with the restriction of 100 people on the beach?
Yeah, no problems this weekend. We're definitely worried as it gets hotter going into this weekend, but we were able to keep it open the entire time. So staff are doing a great job. We did have to close Independence Beach on Saturday for an hour, but they were fine on Sunday. Well, what the staff have been doing is working, and we'll continue that through this weekend, see how it goes. Everybody's been pretty good about it.
Is a park pass still required? Is a park pass, is entry fees waived still, or did that end?
No, those went back into effect on June 1st, and we've been collecting and staffing our dog parks and day use parks.
Chris?
Yeah, for Jim, if you're still there, on the campgrounds, did we have to change like only so many sites, or were they I forget, were the distances okay already before we opened? You know, are they 6 feet or whatever? Did you have to sell less sites?
No, we did not have to do that. We were okay to manage it just as a normal rental, so there was no spacing done. We have limited the number of picnic tables in the pavilions and that kind of thing. And once it went to 100 or less,
sites were okay. And then are they pretty full for this coming weekend? Do you know like what capacity we're at?
Yeah, the first weekend we opened last weekend, we were about 50%. And then by yesterday at 5 o'clock, we were full at Groveland Oaks. So we have a full campground. Staff are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Jim, if I can, how are we standing with health inspections on the lakes? They're still pretty clean?
Well, we do have a problem possibly with the beach at Independence, and we'll know today if we have to close it. A lot of geese in that area, and our counts have been pretty high. And it's on average at 90, I believe, hertz per million, and we've been over that the last couple of weeks. So we're guessing that the health department will close that beach, possibly today, but hopefully they don't.
But we will advise you if it does get closed.
Yeah, we can all bring our shotguns out to Independence and take care of the problem then.
We're going to propose possibly having border collies take care of the geese problem and keep them out of those areas.
Yeah, I know we've used those in the past, so.
Yep.
Is there any further
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion on the park update? Hearing none, let's go to activity participation and program review, PPT. Jim?
Phil, do you have the PowerPoint?
I'm gonna let Randy go ahead and put all this together. She did an awesome job.
Okay. Go ahead, Brandy.
All right. As far as RPS goes, we opened the archery range out at Independence Oaks this past weekend as like a soft launch. We just had a little bit of advertising out on it. We kind of that our safety protocols were good before we had a ton of people there at one time. So we had about 10 families out, but we anticipate more coming up this next weekend, and then as more and more advertisement goes out on it. Our lessons, open house, and camps are on hold until camps we will not do this year. The open house will depend on numbers, and then lessons. We're gonna kind of play out how the open range goes before we consider doing the lessons. So I just want to make sure that we can, manage the people, clean the equipment like we need to have a safe environment for everyone to enjoy the archery range.
Okay.
Slide, Phil. The Trailblazer program has been running since the first week of June. That cute little raccoon, Orion Oaks last weekend, or last, there were several, there was 4 of them climbing up the tree, and this little guy hung down low for everyone to take pictures. So the program we're running now, the Trailblazers, in case you don't remember, is where it's a brief talk and then up to a mile walk. And we hit up all the county parks. And we've done Waterford, Lyon, Orion, Independence, and Highland already. And we've had anywhere, our lowest one was Highland at 5, and our highest was 20, and that was that Orion. So we have like RSVP, so we know how many people will be there, the appropriate number of staff. So that we've been able to do that, safely. Everyone's been able to social distance, so that has worked well. You can go to the next slide. We've done a lot of virtual and self-guided programs. Actually, I was informed we moved from Thursdays to Fridays, so now Carol does flashback Fridays instead of throwback Thursdays. It worked better in everyone's schedule. And so Carol is our historian, and she does a cute little 3 to 5 minute video on some historical aspects. So we've been doing that since June. We have a weekly nature theme, talks and activities. So it's a 3-part series. So each week there's a theme. One of our naturalists does up to a 5 minute little presentation, and then on usually it's Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. On Wednesdays, they'll do an activity, whether it's a craft or whatever, and then Friday they do either a book is read, another activity. So it's like a 3-part series. Our I Spy series has started. That's a 14-week series where we're putting little, I always say it wrong, it's a quirky code, where people can put their phone on it, and then they get information on whatever the code is on. And so we have 2 parks done, right? We're in the middle of our second, and all 14 parks will be done by the mid-September. We have self-guided nature hikes at both Red Oaks and at Wentz. Right now out at Red Oaks, we have Hungry Caterpillar. So as you go through, you can have the kids, families find little caterpillars throughout the trail system. And then we have a themed scavenger hunt that we're partnering with our local CBTs. And so this first one that we just did was with Springfield Township, and we had 56 families register, and it was 91 participants. So the clues are spread out throughout the community, and it's been a great outreach service to work with our CBTs on this. And we have 4 more coming. And next slide, Phil. And just so when they finish the clues or all the puzzles, they send in the results. And these are just some of the comments that the families have sent to us about, you know, how fun it was safe, there's something that they could do and get out and feel safe doing so. So we thought that was nice that they took the time to thank us. The next slide, Phil. Starting in July, our nature education programs will start out at the tent inside the nature center. Campground rec will start next weekend. Mobile recreation will start. We're training our staff this week. And then our new program, Oaks on the Road, will start as well in July. And then one last slide for me. Our programs that are on hold or that we can't do at this time is our special events, adaptive programs, senior programming, Oak Ventures Day Camp, and our water park events. The adaptive and seniors, they're advised to do no in-person programming with these demographics right now. So we're trying to do some virtual or self-guided programs. And that's where
Okay.
Campgrounds, like Jim mentioned a little bit, that we opened on June 25th for both campgrounds. They've been busy last weekend, almost full, and this weekend now reservations are full, and at Addison, Jim mentioned that Groveland is full, but the Addison today, I think we filled up all of our walk-in sites. We did have one group area that was not filled, so we used that as overflow for camping, spacing out alternate spots there. So filling all the areas we can with the walk-in campers. This year, though, the one change for the campgrounds is we're not doing any large events. Nothing that encourages a group gathering. So we're just going to be just a basic camping. Possibly in the fall, we'll revisit the Blue Bash and Haunted Hollows. If we're able to do that then, but throughout the summer, there will be just the basic camping and no large events. Campground rec. I know Addison this weekend we do have some limited campground rec. Some issues with getting all staff on board to provide that. So going forward, Brandy's staff is assisting with Campground Rec to provide the opportunity on the weekends. So as the summer comes up and next weekend, we'll have a program scheduled for the campers. Anything else, Jim?
I know it was kind of added in the sheet that Dan showed earlier, but hopefully we'll be able to open some of our rental areas like the boathouse at Groveland. Probably won't be this weekend, but we're looking at the following weekend to open that up. But like Tom said, it's been still tough trying to get enough staff to operate. So we've been kind of really streamlining what we're offering, and probably our highest priority is making sure things are clean. So we did a very long process of how we were going to clean everything, and so that's something that we've really been focusing, just making sure we have the staff contained. I also want to thank Tom Hughes. He did a really good to me, organizing the campground staff for both campgrounds and meetings that we had prior. So we met sometimes twice a week, but Tom just did an outstanding job holding us all together. So I thank Tom. Thanks, Tom.
They use parks. They've been open.
Go ahead, Tom.
Davis Park's been open throughout this whole process. Our trail's been open. They've been highly used. We've had visitors out there we've never seen before, and now they're coming back because we had the opportunity to provide those trails, and especially without having a fee associated with it. We have experience the parks and getting new users out there, which has been fantastic. And the parks are staying busy. We're seeing a lot of hikers and bike riders at our facilities and equestrian riders. So just the trails are full all the time, which is a fantastic thing to see, and getting people out to the parks. The disc golf rental facility, not rental, but just a facility out there has been very busy as well. That was open throughout the whole process, and other areas were closed, but we kept that open. So we still have a lot of disc golfers participating out there. You gonna add something, Jim?
We were able to open the BMX track, and our numbers actually have been pretty good. We've been up to about 50 in a couple of the nights. So hopefully that will continue. It's just an open ride. There's no races, nothing really organized, and we're been getting a pretty good turnout at the track. So we're really happy that we were able to do that too. Staff did a great job. They organized them together.
Our field rentals right now are starting up again. Everything was on hold because of the group, the social distancing and group numbers. We're just getting some groups starting on July 1st to start playing, ball at baseball fields. Soccer groups are still on hold for the most part because of restrictions for soccer. But they're anticipating sometime in summer to have those clinics and camps going and opening up in the fall for soccer rentals. Same thing with the cricket fields. They're starting to come in and utilize this field. So hopefully through July here, we get some more usage. And going into the fall, we'll be operating more normally.
Okay, is that it?
Next slide. The next one is the golf, but I have a golf PowerPoint for the next section, so I can just wait till then.
Okay. Is there any questions on that, any of that that was presented? Hearing none. Tom, did you want to go through the golf course, golf operations update? Dan?
Well,
Jim?
Tom, are you there? Tom? Oh.
Did you want to go over the golf operations, or are we good?
I don't know, Tom?
I think Tom kind of cut out. Sounds like he's probably trying to get back in. Tom put this together, did a great job. Once again, another group effort that Tom led with the 5 golf courses and bringing all those staff. And we met weekly, went through all the processes. Really outstanding staff on get to get the all the preparations to set up the pro shops. There were a lot of things put in place to get us ready and get us open. We had to work through a variety of different things, and we still were able to get our leagues out and going. Things are starting to pick up. We're still having very good days on golf courses.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my cut out there for my connection. But if you go over the operation real quick, normally we open the 1st of April, so our golf operations begin. And this year we couldn't do anything on the golf course other than general maintenance until 1st of May. So it was no onboarding of staff, no golf courses open, and it was limited once we did open. So May 1st, some of the courses open, the rest open on May 4th, but everything was very limited. We had to change our operation and change everything we did to what we're providing and make sure safety is number one for all our golfers. A lot of modifications of removing amenities on the golf course, make it pared down, sanitizing golf carts, all that stuff. We really took time as staff to make sure we provided that safe experience for everybody. Then going forward, once we finally opened, we had to modify our operation. We couldn't take payment on site. Staff had to adjust constantly to get that the process going of taking tee times only and prepayment. So it was a learning curve for everybody, and we did a fantastic job and got nothing but positive feedback from all our users of the precautions we took and how much time we took to make sure we did it the right way. So that was good feedback to have, that we took our time, but we did it the right way. Going into the middle of May, next slide, please. So the middle of May, we were finally able to get the golf carts out, but we were restricted. So this restriction of not opening until 1st of May and not having golf carts for the first half of May, then once the golf carts did go out, it was 1 person per cart. It had a big impact on our ability to get revenue. We also had 12-minute tee times too, versus our 8-minute tee times. That spacing just to keep people from having keeping in one area, so have that social distancing, make sure it was a priority for the golfers, but it had an impact on the attendance and revenues. The golfers wanted to play, and spots were filled. Is just the amount of revenue we get from that was limited because of all the restrictions we had. And then by the end of May, we were able to start getting more and more operations. Leagues were held off until the 1st of June because of golf cart limitations. We only have 80 golf carts, but we have a lot more golfers that are playing today. So by the time the beginning of June rolled around, we were able to start operating normally, as normal as possible in this situation anyway. So we have 2 people on the golf cart. We're increasing our hours operation, reducing our tee times down to 10 minutes. Pro shops are starting to open. Some are still a limited operation. We're still dealing with staffing issues because of onboarding and just having staff available to work. It's been a challenge, so we're working through it the best we can. But we're in the process of still onboarding some new staff, and then we'll hopefully be normal as it can be coming up here. Next slide, please. So it's going to be a quick comparison of the last 3 years of operation of October 1 through June 20th compared to this year, and of what the effect of the COVID did to the golf courses. And normally at the golf courses, see White Lake is 14, 15,000 starts by this point, and we're down to 11,000. So having a month and a half of limited golf or no golf and limited opportunity to get green fees and cart rentals had an impact on it. But now that we're moving forward, the attendance is up. We've had some great weekends the last few weekends, and all the courses are at or above where they were last year for revenues and attendance. So we see the interest is there. Now we're operating normally, so hopefully we can keep going forward and keep that trend going. So we're going to be a little behind what we projected for this year, but hopefully it stays in that small gap and we can go forward and have golf be close to what it should have been. And just a quick comparison here. The comparison of the golf courses between all 5 facilities from a 16 to 2019 year-end actuals, where it would be at the end of the year compared to what we have been through June. So just have a target of where we're at for each facility for our attendance numbers and our expenses and revenues. Any questions on golf?
Thanks, Tom.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Dave.
I got a couple questions. Out where I live, at Pine Knob, I was talking to them the other day, and their play is up 25%. And the Fountains play is up 21%. And they're finding that the allure of golf now outside, they're bringing in a lot more a mix of groups, or young children, a lot of female play. It's really been a great experience. I would assume our revenues will start catching up based on what those guys reported to me.
Yeah, yes. And I don't think we're not going to be what we budgeted, but we're a lot more encouraging to see the trend out there and the amount of golfers and our tee times being full. So yes, it's compared to what we thought it was going to be and what it is now, it's definitely a very encouraging.
Yeah, there was nothing but rosy reports, I guess, so that's good. Tom, one other question. Do we have annual membership any place in any of our courses?
No, we do not have any memberships.
We did.
Have we thought about that?
We did away with those, Dave, back in the 80s.
Well, that was before my time, believe it or not.
Okay.
Why not? Why would that be a consideration?
At that time, Dave, that was viewed by the commission, and you're certainly welcome to make changes that they wanted open play for any residents at any time, and not having it full of people with memberships or season passes.
I would think if there's a market for it, that'd be a great source of revenue.
We can do research, Dave, and see what the latest trends are
Yeah.
and bring it back to you.
Yeah, let's do that. It might be at least worth consideration.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any further discussion on golf? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, and that's the 2019 dashboard and data book. Melissa, is that you?
That is me. So we didn't provide the actual data book to you all in the packet just because it's such a large document, but on the agenda item on page 108, there's a direct link to it. It always lives on the planning page of our website. So you can go there and find it. For any commissioners who maybe haven't seen it yet or haven't looked at last year's copy, it's essentially a compilation of all the data that we have on the park system for the last few years. So this is the 2019 dashboard and data book, so it's all fiscal year 2019 data. I would say it's probably about 85% complete. There's a few little pieces that are missing for this year just because we are a little behind just with everything else going on, but we wanted to get the key data that you're probably the most interested in out there. So I don't really have any major, changes in data trends or anything to report. This is more of just a reminder that that information is out there. So if you're looking for anything from participation numbers to acreage of parks to amenities at the parks, all that stuff lives in the data book, and you can always find it online.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Holly Oaks ORV Park update. That's you again, Melissa?
That's me again. There we go. Okay, so just a few things we wanted to update the commission on out at Holly Oaks. One is that our fencing, we had a fencing contractor out there fencing off some of the critical areas of the park, mostly being the border between the active park and the Holly Disposal active mine site. So that is now fenced off along with the boundary along the perimeter of Mount Holly. And then on the left there, you can see along Shields Road, where it was not too hard to get into the park in that location, but the fencing there is now up. And as we staff up, our staff is going to be putting in a different type of fence along the border of Dixie Highway. So we'll be working on that as well. An update on the Mount Magna project. Commissioners will remember this was a contribution of $70,000 for Magna Powertrain to build a feature out at the park. We are still lined up to do that in early August. Rich Klein, who's kind of the expert in the Shot Creek feature construction, is planning to come out. He doesn't have a flight booked yet, or I would let you know the dates, but the very 1st of August, the first week or so, is when we'll be ramping up that work. So we can keep the commissioners posted on how that's going. It'll be a process of at least a week, to get the site prepped and get the shotcrete out there and test it. So this is just a shot of some of our volunteers working on the clay model for that, so we can see exactly what we want it to look like. And then on the left is what we're thinking about for the signage for that. So we'll do kind of a cool rustic frame, and then Magnus working with us to get their sign placed inside that. And then just an update, our friends at Mahindra are actually loaning us this really cool rail buggy that you can see in the picture there, and they built a custom trailer for it for the back. We have a definite need. You'll see in a picture in a minute here. There's a lot of material being moved around on the site, so this will be a really nice thing for our staff to have on site to move just different material and supplies and equipment to different parts of the park as we work on the development. This is just to highlight some of the work that some of our volunteers are doing. I know I've mentioned this over and over again, but we have just this fantastic group of volunteers that continue to show up every week and help us out at the park. This is from a worker night that they had, I think, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. They're working on doing some of the signage for the different amenities out at the park. And you can see kind of the theme for the park that we're going with is kind of this old mine, obviously, since it was a mine, or kind of a gold rush or ghost town kind of feel, which everybody seems really excited about. And it lends itself very nicely for us to use a lot of reclaimed and recycled material, which we have plenty of around the park system, so that the cost savings for us too. Just another shot of some of our volunteers and staff working out, clearing the trail. This is actually going to be a full-size trail. This is along I-75, where a lot of foliage has grown up and there's some mature trees in that area. So this is a full-size vehicle they've been working to clear along that area. And I wanted to update a little bit on the nonprofit volunteer group that we've been working with. This is a photo that they actually created from one of their volunteer work days a few weeks ago that I thought was really neat to share with the commission. So the volunteer group we've been referring to as a friends group for a very long time is actually now an official group. They're a subsidiary or a doing business as of the Oakland Parks Foundation. So they have a full, their 501c3 status. They're doing business as the Oakland Mine Riders. So they are ramping up right now. They've got their insurance in place. We're about to sign an agreement with them that lets them come out and volunteer and help us out at the park. They're going to start collecting membership dues and helping us with fundraising and recruiting volunteers for the park. So it's really neat to see some of that kind of solidifying into a real group that's going to work with us. This is just a little bit of their collateral. So if you start seeing stickers on vehicles or vinyl decals that say OMR or Oakland Mine Riders, this is what they're kind of looking toward. And they're helping us with a big fundraising effort that I'll mention on the next slide. And for those people who contribute to that, they're actually creating, they're called the buffs, which I'm sure you've seen. It's kind of like a scarf you can wear around your neck or put it on your head. A lot of people are using them for masks at this point. So they're working on creating a design for those that they can give to people who donate to projects. And this is actually something we've been working on with the Oakland Mine Riders and the DNR. The DNR has a contract with a company called Mobile Cause, and it's essentially a fundraising app. So they've essentially provided an account to the Oakland Mine Riders who are going to use this to help us fundraise kind of for one key facility or feature or amenity at a time, as like a very kind of a campaign for a specific thing at the park. So what we've decided to focus on first is a project we've been calling the Oasis, which is going to be a water feature that vehicles can drive through to kind of get some of the mud and dirt off their tires before they leave the park. So the people to this Mobile Cause site, they can easily go online, make a donation to that specific project, and then get, you know, one of those cool buffs in return for their donation. So we're very excited about that as well. And then last, just a few things coming up. GJ Coffee, our park supervisor out there, is back in the process of hiring our seasonal staff. He had started that right as COVID-19 wrapped up and everything had to be put on hold. So I think he's actually interviewing today and tomorrow and more next week. So he's trying to get the staff that we need to get the park up and running. A significant interest in corporate use and rental of the park. We had a company out a couple weeks ago who rented the park for an entire week to the tune of $10,000 for the park, because we charge $2,000 a day corporate rental rate. So we're very excited about that. And we do expect some more activity between now and when the park opens, which is great because it'll bring some additional press to the park and some much needed additional revenue as well. We are looking at maybe doing some sort of staff and volunteer appreciation day in partnership with the DNR, just an opportunity for, you know, the DNR staff, our park staff, and obviously any commissioners who want to participate, get out, you know, bring their own off-road vehicles or trucks or equipment down to the park, check it out, just kind of as an open house kind of environment. So we're working on setting that up maybe for a Friday afternoon in late August. So we'll keep the commission posted on that. And then lastly, in terms of grand opening, we are looking at doing our kind of Oakland County Parks and DNR grand opening celebration the Friday before Detroit Core Fest. So that's Friday, September 11th. As soon as we nail down a time for that, we will get that out to you as soon as we can. But that'll be, essentially it's the setup day for Fest. So there'll be lots of people in and out, potentially lots of media. So we decided we would tack on to that for our kind of official grand opening celebration. And then the day after that will be the public park opening. So we won't be doing anything like that the day the park opens. We just want to focus on, you know, getting people in smoothly and making sure that the operation is running. So again, the commission event will be Friday, September 11th, and then the park will open on Thursday, September 17th. And that is all I have. Commissioner Costin might want to have something he wants to add.
Mr. Costin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The short version is I was up at my condo in Lake Charlevoix on the 11th of June, went across and got the free press and sat down, and what am I wondering I should appear but a full page ad by Ford Motor Company getting into the ORV business. and this is what caught my eye, and which is why I called Melissa. Ford says, Ford predicts the new Bronco will eat the Jeep's lunch. So, when I see something like that, and knowing how Jeep and the Wrangler has pretty well controlled most of that market for so long, you can see that my excitement is because of the corporate big business sees this ORV park, and I'm going to be pleased to see and predict that managing all of that when people want to get involved that have money and we can still be a park is a pretty exciting situation when parks can rarely just get by on millage. I mean, you can see so that money will come into this park. It will stay in the park thanks to the hard work of the commission and Melissa and Jody and Sue Wells and everybody. But when you see something like that from Ford Motor Company on the front page, wow, that tells you corporate wants in. Now the job is to control it and still accept it. So
Right.
I'm pretty damn excited about it. After gotten letters and calls from Arctic Cat, Kawasaki, Bombardier, Yamaha, Suzuki, Jeep, now Ford, Coleman. It's amazing the number of people out there that like to ride off-road, and it'll be right here in Oakland County. Pretty exciting. I'll stop now.
It's a very good timing.
Is there any questions for Melissa? Hearing none, we'll move on to the executive officer's report.
All right, on pages 110 to 142, it's very pleasing to finally report on upcoming events for July and August on pages 112 to 116. The next commission meeting is Wednesday, August the 5th. The executive committee meeting, the next one is July 20th at 1 o'clock. Some further information on pages 117 to 119 on the National Association of Counties Achievement Award for the Red Oaks Nature Center Storybook Trail. And hopefully we'll receive that award sometime in August, and we'll represent it to the commission and staff. Page 120 is a news release about our beach openings. The Freshwater Forum from Cranbrook Institute did their annual cleanup on Lake 16. In that partnership, then I'm happy to recognize Commissioner Costin for his 50th anniversary of being in the legal profession. Congratulations to you. Pages 121 to 123.
Thank you.
Yep, there's a thank you letter to the Road Commission for Oakland County. Thank you, Commissioner Jamian and your team for the support that they've always given to the park system. We have an update on our commission meeting locations. Just wanted to make you aware that we're looking at the September meeting being at Mount Holly and the October meeting being at Catalpa. We're also including the communications and marketing report on pages 125 to 142, Desiree and her staff's efforts. Then I have a couple, we've got an update on Normandy Oaks. The construction of phase 1 and phase 2 are projected to be completed by December 2020. I think most commissioners and staff are aware of the little library program that you see in many communities. And we actually have 4 or 5 of them in the park system currently. And we are reaching out to the community to see if we can locate one at our campground at Addison and possibly a campground at Groveland. Those would be really great assets for the campers. Also, I want to draw to your attention when we had the piece about the millage on pages 59 through 68. You had requested a listing of the projects and achievements since 2010 millage, and that is all there for you. And then finally, July is Parks and Recreation Month, and we'll be promoting a variety of different opportunities for the public to celebrate and experience our parks. And happy 4th of July to everybody.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions regarding Dan's report? Hearing none, we'll move on to executive committee update. Not really much to update. We mostly talked about the ballot language and discussed that. And as you heard earlier, that we'll be moving forward at the next meeting. So is there any old business that needs to be discussed? Any new business?
I like your office, Gary.
Go ahead, Dave.
Gosh, I like your office.
Oh, thanks. I just want to say, give a special thank you to the staff. We've had some pretty trying times these past few months. Vicky in particular, but the entire staff at Parks has done a terrific job trying to please the residents and give them space in the parks and get the agendas together at the last minute and everything else. So thanks for all you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you to all of you.
Echo those thoughts.
And with that, we'll adjourn till the next meeting on August the 5th at 1 p.m. or unless there's a call of the chair to reschedule a meeting. Thanks so much.
Happy 4th of July,
This
everybody.
conference